Okay, good morning and welcome to a Coach's Corner.
Good
Why don't you
morning.
go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what your position is here in the county?
Sure. My name's Scott Fritz. I've been here for about 6 months as the superintendent of Volusia County, and
All right.
I love the job.
Okay. And I know you said you've been here in the county for about 6 months, but how long have you been in the education field?
This is my 20. I'm actually coming up on my 29th year in education, all public school. I started in this. Started my first job as a paraprofessional, and I kind of worked my way through the ranks. And this is my fourth and final school district, all in Central Florida. Started in Hillsborough County. Was there for 16 years, and went to Osceola, and then Orange County, and back to Osceola, and now I'm here.
Okay, and you started as a para.
I did. I started as a paraprofessional. I was a special education teacher, and did that for about 5 or 6 years, and then became an assistant principal, and then a principal, and I was a principal at three schools in Hillsborough County. Two middles. One of those middles I got to open as a brand new school, and then I went to the high school as a high school principal, and that was where I really athletics was always important at all both levels, but it took on a new dynamic at the high school for sure, and um, used to take my kids, and Friday night lights were a real thing for us, and the whole family would go out and watch the Wharton Wildcats.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you definitely worked your way up the ladder, so to speak. That's interesting, and that would be a whole almost Disney movie, so to speak. Someone that started it.
Well,
Yeah. Um,
I've always done the job that I wanted to do. Never felt like I've had to compromise anything, and um, I to this day probably my greatest joy was being a principal. I thoroughly loved that job. I liked being a teacher, but as a principal, I was able to have that global perspective, and really felt like I got to know my kids pretty good. Um, but I feel like the superintendency is almost like being the principal again. It's a principal for a school district, so it certainly is very, very rewarding and a great path.
right, right. And I know you just mentioned your kids. How many children do you have?
I have two kids. I have a daughter who's 26 and a boy who's 21.
Okay. And were they involved in sports or extracurriculars as they were growing up?
Yeah, and they had two totally different paths. My daughter is a special needs student, and she's 26 years of age, and we started her um, in Special Olympics, and she was able to um, move on to do many, many sports, everything from swimming, basketball, which she is really a good basketball player. I'm very, very proud of her with that. She can make the shot, I can tell you. And but she's done everything from track to now her thing is they have a Special Olympics horse riding event, and so she rides horses once a week. But she's done gymnastics, she's done cheerleading, um, and so very, very exciting with her. And my son, um, he has truly done every sport, and he started when he was 3 years old playing soccer, and it kept going up. And in fact, as a high school student, he did four varsity sports, one each year. He wanted to keep a focus on his academics, so he did football, he did basketball, he did golf, and he did volleyball. So
Oh, wow. Wow.
yeah,
And so you got to sit on the sidelines for all kinds of things, and that's
yeah. I did a lot of coaching too. I did a lot of coaching. We started a league. I was the founding coach for the Challenger League in Osceola County for the special. It's really like the special needs baseball team, and
okay.
so we were able to take that team to states and nationals on multiple occasions. But we started that Challenger League, and it's still going today. My wife, my son was a volunteer and helped out as well. We did that on Saturday mornings at St. Cloud Little League. Um, but we've done quite a bit with the sports, yes. And I miss it. I will tell all the, if any dads are out there, as soon as your kids stop doing that, you really, really do miss it.
No doubt, you do. I remember the first time that I've got 4 children, and the 2 oldest were involved with sports, and the 2 youngest not as much. And as soon as the second one graduated, the first time that I looked to my right, in that passenger seat, and nobody was there on the way to practice, it definitely kind of affects you. Like, wait a minute,
Absolutely.
there's nobody sitting next to me. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a missing piece.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and you yourself, did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I played a little bit of basketball. I played a little baseball. I wasn't a real good baseball player. I always think the coaches were extra nice just to let me be on the team. But I was decent at basketball. Not great, but decent. That's kind of been a family sport. My dad was a real good basketball player. Um, the joke in our family is that at age 14, that's when the sons beat the dads. And I beat my dad at 14. My son beat me at 14. And his son or daughter will beat him at 14. I'm pretty convinced.
Okay. And where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Tampa. I was actually born in a little town called Yardley in Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia. My parents had a farm, little farm. And then we
Okay.
moved down into Tampa when I was 9. I grew up in Hillsborough County and stayed there for quite a long time, and so that's where most of my athletics occurred.
Okay. All right. And so you've been involved in all aspects of heck of a lot of things. And uh, how important do you feel that it is for kids to get involved, not just in sports, but all extracurricular things, whether we're talking drama club or key club or whatever it is? How important do you feel it is for those kids to get involved with that stuff throughout their school life?
I think it's really important because we talk a lot about preparing kids for careers, but we want to prepare them to enjoy life in addition to working. And whether it's sports or whether it's an anime club or a foreign language club, a travel club, those are all things that they're going to seek enjoyment from well after the hours of work. And I think it's really important for kids to feel connected to school. Sometimes, we push language arts, we push mathematics, and we push science and social studies and things like that. And those are mandatory, and I get it. But that's not always why kids want to come to school. And I think it's so incredibly important that we have, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to fit the mold. It can be something unique. Um, I had a group of students when I was a principal that wanted a comic book club, and that's fine. I mean, they connected. There were like 8 or 10 kids, and they really were into these comic books. They started doing their own comic books, and that's a really good kind of a club to have that a teacher could help sponsor and allow those 8 to 10 kids really to be connected to the school. And I think it's extremely important. I think it gives us we all look forward to the workday when it's over. And some of us sit down. I love to sit down and watch baseball. If it's in season, my son and I love the YouTube fishing videos. We both love to fish, and so when if we can't be out there on the water, then we're going to watch it on TV when we have a little bit of time. And I think it's important because I think it helps students build that connection. I know my wife talks about the clubs that she was in part of when she was in high school, and some of those students that she had at that point. My wife is, you know, we're both in our 50s, and some of those folks are still her friends to this day that she met in those clubs.
Right, right. Right. And looking back at your high school career, is there something that you wish that maybe you would have tried at that time that you didn't, whether it's a club, whether it's a sport?
Yes, definitely. Um, swimming has always been real important to my wife and I. That's actually how we met. We were swim coaches, swim instructors. Actually, we were teaching swim lessons to little kids, and both of us were really good swimmers. She did the swim team. I did not. Um, there were different circumstances. I worked all my way through high school and had to do some things to help make sure that I had some plans after high school and things like that. And so if I could go back, I would have found the time to make sure that I was on the swim team. I think swimming is one of those sports that works the entire body. It certainly is an incredible workout. If you don't believe me, go out and try to swim 20 laps. You'll figure it out real
Right.
quick. Every muscle in your body will hurt. And we've just seen the benefits of that. My kids were, we put my kids in the water when they were 6 weeks old. And they're water bugs to this day, both of them. There's not a weekend that goes by that we're not in the water somewhere. And so if I could go back, that would probably be the one area or one sport that I would definitely participate in.
Okay. I'm sure all the swim coaches in the county will love to hear that. um, and again, I know that you're still, fairly new to the county, but so far, what is the best part about working in Volusia County?
Hands down. I mean, this is straight up. It's going to sound kind of hokey, but it's the people. I've met some great people here that truly care about kids. I met some amazing kids. I got to tell you, I wish that I could have met more. That we've kind of had a wrinkle in our system with this pandemic, getting out to meeting some of the kids, but amazing young people. I just got a report today of how many of them are going to be completing their AA degrees this year. Despite this pandemic, they're still doing it. So it's no doubt the best thing about Volusia are folks.
Definitely. And to those people that end up watching this, whether it's students, whether it's parents, whether it's community members, whoever it might be, what would you like to say to them in this unique time?
Put one foot in front of the other and never give up. All those dreams you had before, keep them alive. If you don't have dreams, find them. You only get one shot at this life. And, after the age of 18, you can't say, well, I had a bad childhood or anything else. It's all on you. And I would tell you to get out there and put your best foot forward, because you want to leave a mark and you want to leave the right mark. And again, you got one shot to get it right. So don't stop.
Right. And here's a question you didn't get a chance to prepare for because it wasn't on the list that I sent you. So it's a hard one too. If you could have dinner with any four people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Okay.
I think he took our country through some of the hardest times, the world through some of the hardest times, and had tremendous respect. I'm a history nut, so he would rank very high. Susan B. Anthony, because I think she truly changed the pathway during the early years, and having a daughter, and I'm grateful. So very grateful. So I would probably say President Obama. Being the first African American president is a huge feat, regardless of which side of the political party you're on.
Right.
And have always been impressed when I've heard him speak. And I would definitely want to meet him. And I'll give you one more. Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt from the Phillies.
The baseball player. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, I had every Phillies card from 76 to 80, and was a true Phillies fan all the way, and loved watching him play third base. I played third base when I was a kid, and he was truly one that I absolutely respected. And I've gotten to meet quite a few athletic pro athletes over my time, just because of the nature of being a former high school principal, and had some really unique experiences. My wife got to take a group of students to South Africa with Derek Brooks, so I got to meet him and Tony
Okay.
Dungy and a few other folks. But I will tell you, Mike Schmidt always will be one that, if I ever get the opportunity, it's going to be great.
Right, right. Huh. Well, that's definitely an interesting for sure. That would be an
Yeah,
interesting dinner conversation, definitely.
yeah, no doubt, no
Well,
doubt.
Dr. Fritz, do you have anything else that you'd like to say or something that we didn't cover?
Just no, thank you for reaching out. This means a lot. We, much rather sit down in person with you and be able to do this, but the times we're living in, the virtual world is working for us, and I appreciate you just following up and making sure we were able to do that.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you getting back to us and doing this for us. I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing you. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Hopefully soon. Hopefully
yep,
soon.
yeah.
So,
Hopefully before long we'll be able to walk around campus. Hopefully. So
absolutely.
all right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'll be talking to you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.